communicate with one another. We interact with each other for the purpose of conveying thoughts and opinion, for the purpose of expressing needs and concerns. We create social relations between members of our society. We become unite. Yet, when someone of a different background enters our society, it all changes. We feel uncomfortable having people from abroad coming in. The first stages of a person's social life probably begins in school. In our modern society, many international students come in from abroad. They have it difficult dealing with discrimination. They are forced to hear racist slurs and insults, as well as being stereotyped based on his or her nationality. International students at times feel as if they are unwanted. International students have a different culture affecting their way of living. Change is always difficult for any person, but why do we not make them feel welcome? Why can't we accept the fact that we're all the same, no matter the nationality or race? Why do we let the frustration of the language barrier get to us and avoid speaking to our fellow international classmates? We should treat them with respect, just like the way we want to be treated. We have a problem, and there is no point in denying it. Why can't we just put an end to this topic? It is now time to put a stop to the social barrier. It is now time to create a healthier society. Discrimination, one of the leading society problems we face today. The most common forms vary from the discrimination of race to the discrimination of nationality. Unfortunately, international students deal with this sort of issue. Worldwide schools, including the ABS, strive very hard to help end discrimination. Now it's your turn to stop this problem from further increasing by completely eradicating the act of discrimination targeted towards our fellow international classmates.
Since my skin color is different to the local students, I stood out in that school. Our differences used to make them feel very uncomfortable around me. But after a while, after I learned their language, they started to give me some respect. It was very rough, but at some point the issue faded and they started treating me like I was one of them.
I haven't experienced a scenario where I was directly discriminated against. However, there was this one scenario where I was frustrated. I had just come back from holiday and my friend asked me, "How was Turkey?" I'm not from Turkey. And it gave me the impression that it didn't matter where I'm from, it just mattered that I'm different. I'm that foreign guy. Obviously, this is an extreme example, but sometimes it's not the direct discrimination, it's the small things that add up.
If our community is filled with close-minded people who do not like foreigners, then it will be a major step backwards for our community or any other facing this particular issue of discrimination. In my opinion, international students should feel welcome at all times.
It is so human. When you face a new situation, you might become a bit defensive. These defenses might create also defenses on the other person who's dealing with you. So yes, I could say some clashes, maybe the differences would be more obvious than in other cases, and these differences might create some clashes or
هناك
conflict.
نوع من الرعاية الخاصة للطلبة الدوليين لأنهم بيحتاجوا إلى رعاية خاصة. قد يفهم البعض أنه هذا تمييز، لكن لا، نحن حين يأتي طالب جديد خاصة في المجموعات الدولية لابد من أن نرعاه رعاية خاصة حتى يستطيع أن يصل إلى درجة يتمكن فيها من الاعتماد على نفسه في المدرسة. هذا بشكل عام، لكن أنا لا أذكر أنه في حالة خاصة كان لها وضع خاص. لابد من رعاية هؤلاء الأشخاص أو الطلاب في المرحلة الأولى حتى يستطيعوا أن ينسجموا مع مجتمع المدرسة.
I do remember incidents where people who are perhaps, for example, a different colour, that has happened where people have been called names because their skin is a different colour. I think there have been one or two incidents of making fun of people because perhaps they speak in a different way, or they, you know, for example, if a teacher, a student who calls somebody sir, now we don't tend to do that in our school. In some schools they do it a lot. So, you know, differences are what students notice, and they can be the problem. Sometimes they're the things that students like about new people. Sometimes the differences are what causes the problems.
I think any new student coming to a new school will have a bit of a difficult time fitting in. I think it might be a slightly longer period in terms of an international student because they're coming to a new culture, to a new country. But I think the ABS would probably be one of the easier cultures to assimilate into because it's already a very internationally minded school.
When there are people of the same background, lifestyle and upbringing, and someone new comes along, it's sometimes difficult to accept their different perspectives and habits.
Living in a new country and meeting new people that have a dissimilar culture than yours will have effect on your social life. For example, living in a rather strict culture and moving into a more free culture than the one you used to live in will be a major change to anyone's life.
International students coming in experience a new life and meet different people. Change is always difficult for any person, and by what I have seen, international students do have a hard time to fit in.
Every person who joins a certain community for the first time might face some difficulties in adjusting him or herself to the new setting.
يعني البعد الثقافي له دور كبير. حين يأتي الطالب إلى المدرسة ويكون من ثقافة أخرى يشعر بنوع من الخشية أو الرهبة من الثقافة التي يحضر إليها، لكن مع الزمن حين يتعرف إلى الثقافة المضيفة اللي قدم إليها يبدأ هذا الخوف يزول شيئا فشيئا. يحتاج إلى نوع من الجهد الزائد في أنه ينسجموا، خاصة أنه ثقافتهم تكون مختلفة تماما.
What I need to do as a person is to make sure that I can deal with the other person, whether foreigner or from different culture or completely a new setting for me. In this case, if I open myself to understand and to accept, this means that the dealing or the relationship might be really developed.
International students can be viewed differently for not having the local accent. That's why some people try to perfect the local accent so they can fit in.
But when I speak to a group of people with a dissimilar accent than me, I become more self-aware that my accent is different. I'm proud of my accent, but sometimes I do feel like it is the indicator that I'm from a different country and they look at me differently.
I believe strongly that knowing the language or being able to deal with its minimum requirements would be a good, facilitating factor in your life as an international student. So I encourage every international student or anyone who joins us without, knowing the Arabic language to have the basics of it, because it will make his life much easier in dealing with the classmates, with the teachers, and with people outside the school also. Unfortunately, it depends on the maturity level of the recipients. If they think of it as from a background of standard language or standard accent, and they are judgmental people, yes, it will be difficult for the comer or the newcomer to deal with it. That's why we keep always reminding our students that don't be judgmental. Accept the people as they are, because everyone is different from others. We are not cliche. We are not, nobody is a standard person.
Don't visit, so I choke on sun, and the days blur into one in the backs of my eyes. On the things I've never done, sheets are swaying from an old clothesline, like a row of captured ghosts or old dead grass. There's never much, but there's never much, but we've made